Peoria is more of a dark clay, a little bit smaller stands than the other tracks that we seen, but you could just tell a really fast, racy track. Finally, we made it to Dirt Oval at Route 66, where there was no rain for the All-Stars, which is kind of amazing this year. The All-Stars Circuit of Champions had 32 sprints checked in. Aaron Rutzel set fast time. Joey Mohan won Heat 1. Brock Zierfoss won Heat 2. Justin Peck was actually leading and had some problems. Paul McMahon won Heat 3, and Brian Paulus, who was kind of a surprise show-up, won Heat 4. There was not a lot of passing in the heats. There was a curb that formed about halfway up the track, made it pretty much one lane. So kind of where guys started was kind of where they finished. They worked the track all night long. The curb was nice because you like to see that, but it was a little bit sketchy. And if you hit it wrong, you're going to be in for a long night after that. And we saw quite a few cars that did end up turning over that night. Dash 1 was won by Kyle Larson, and Aaron Rutzel was one of those cars that got upside down in the dash. And Paul McMahon won Dash 2. The B main was won by Gerard McIntyre, and Justin Peck finished 4th to get that last transfer spot. The feature saw Kyle Larson and Paul McMahon on the front row. Larson looked like the class of the field early, but Aaron Rutzel was coming strong from 9th place. After Rutzel, who struggled to get around McMahon for a couple laps, got into 2nd, he looked like he was starting to reel in Larson. He was just super fast all night long. You're kind of hoping that Rutzel could get a caution to maybe bunch him up and see a good race between him and Larson. Well, the red flag comes out for Jeremy Schultz, which you hate to see. And if you guys are following along on Twitter, you know what happened next. Kyle Larson was disqualified for a crewman being outside of the restricted area. Now, this was a really big bummer. It wasn't a bummer for me because Kyle Larson got disqualified, even though I'm a fan. It wasn't a bummer because he should get special treatment. It was a bummer just because Aaron Rutzel looked so good, and you were really looking forward to that race between them two. Unfortunately, from that point out, Rutzel was just kind of checked out. Dale Blaney did do some Dale Blaney things that night. He just very methodically worked from 10th starting spot and ended up getting around Paul McMahon at the end for 2nd place. So a really solid run for Dale Blaney. And that points chase between Aaron Rutzel and Dale Blaney is going to be fun to watch all year long. So you had Rutzel taking the win. Blaney ended up 2nd. Paul McMahon 3rd. Corey Eliason 4th. And Bill Baylog 5th. Another unfortunate event for the night was Paul Nieheiser was running 4th. He's a MOA guy, and he's also one of the top up-and-comers out there. He was running for 4th, and Brock Zierfoss got into him a little bit, sent him for a wild ride into the wall, and ended his night, which would look like was going to be real promising. Justin Peck, who had the problems earlier in the night, ended up picking the Hard Charger Award up for the night with a great run. The USAC midgets were also on hand at the Dirt Oval 66. 32 midgets checked in. Anyone you could think about who runs midgets and who's a solid driver was there that night. Kyle Larson set fast time. Andrew Laser flipped pretty hard in the first heat. They had to do some fence work. Laser actually got it back together and raced later in the night. Jason McDougall won Heat 1. Heat 2 went to Tyler Thomas. Heat 3 was Tanner Carrick. Heat 4, Ace McCarthy. And the semi-feature was won by Tucker Klassmeyer. Here's 4 names I'm going to throw out there. Jerry Kuntz Jr., Logan Seavey, T. Mez, and J.J. Yaley all had to come from the semi-feature that night. That's just how deep this midget field was. And the feature came out. It was all Kyle Larson. About halfway through the race, Logan Seavey put a slider on him and took the lead for a brief second. That awoke Kyle Larson, and he just took off and was checked out. Seavey was running 3rd, and with 1 lap to go, spun, ending his night. They went green-white checker where Larson ended up winning. Tyler Courtney ended up 2nd. Tanner Carrick 3rd. Chris Wyndham 4th. And Kevin Thomas Jr. 5th. Jason McDougal, who actually won his heat for some reason, started 19th in the feature. I don't know why, but he was the hard charger going 19th to 9. So all in all, a good night. The Dirt Oval 66, really cool setup with the big stands and top of the line everything as far as facilities go. Went a little bit longer than a lot of people wanted, but just a class field in the midgets, class field in the All-Stars, and a real good night at the track. I thank you again for having me on. I hope you guys enjoyed the recap, and thanks for following along.
Thanks, Derrick, for that awesome recap. We invite you, race fans, if you have the means to record a recap or you want to tell us a race story, reach out to us on Twitter and let us know. We're looking for 5 to 10 minute segments. This is a podcast that's for you, and it could be by you. Jacob and I are race fans, and we're very excited to bring in Derrick with his recap this week, and we look forward to hearing more from him and you in the future. So feel free, shoot us a message on Facebook or Twitter and let us know that you've got something you want to send us, and we'll do our best to include it here in the podcast. Just a reminder, you can find us on Spreaker, SoundCloud, Google Podcast, iTunes. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe so that you get the updates. Thanks to Logan Schuchart for taking the time to do an interview with us. And thanks to Derrick Bean for the recap from the All-Stars in Illinois. And until next time, race fans, get out, get dirty, and support your local tracks.